Good morning. Thanks for coming. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to speak with you today. I think what I'd like to share with you to maybe start the day and start energize your brains for the topics that we're going to hear about all day long is maybe look at the future a little bit. How can we as a profession learn together going forward in relation to BIM? And I'll start with one of my favorite quotes. I like ice hockey, and I also like this quote, skate to where the puck is going to be, not to where it has been. And I think that applies perfectly to BIM. We need as an industry to look at where is technology going? What is the opportunity in front of us, and not chase the opportunity that we see right now. Of course, we have to do our work. We're delivering projects. But let's be visionary. Let's find that open space in front of us and go for it. A little bit, I don't speak Polish, but I think you just learned a lot about me, so I won't go into it. But I encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I've been in this industry for a long time. I had my own architectural firm. I worked for one of the largest AE firms in the US for 12 years, and I've been in the software industry for 20 years. And connected to professional organizations. And using that as a context, I'd like to share maybe 5 quick insights with you. The first one is that we can build on success. There's a lot of good things happening in BIM around the world. We're fortunate at GRAPHISOFT to have products with ArchiCAD, BIMX, BIM Cloud that are being used in BIM. And it's not a commercial for the products, it's that the use of the products is informing to us. We learn how our customers use our products, what they like, what they don't like, and that informs us of where we can go next. And we have a really great community of architects, engineers, contractors around the world to draw on, to pull that experience. And our goal is to take that strength in the market and use it as input and leverage that for what we do next. We're also have a good advantage in that we are a global player. And one of the things that we had a great conversation at dinner last night here, and it's apparent that there are aspects of BIM, there are aspects of using technology in architectural practice that are the same everywhere in the world. But there are also very important differences in different parts of the world. And there's a different level of understanding and maturity and adoption and application of technology depending on where you are in the world, what kind of practice you have, what the construction materials, methodologies, what the contracting and legal requirements are in any given country or region. And that's, on the one hand, for the professions, it's a challenge because it makes it hard for providers like us to satisfy everybody. But on the other hand, it's a great opportunity because in those differences, we can learn. We can find innovation and exploration in one part of the world and bring that knowledge and share it with another part of the world. Another thing that I think I'd like to highlight is that we're regularly commended on being in very close relationships with our customers. And I think you as architects and engineers and contractors and investors should demand that of all of your technology providers. If you don't have a relationship with them, if you don't have the ability to complain, to ask for things, to explore together, to challenge how things are done, that's a disadvantage for you. And I would encourage us as a set of professions to really push for that relationship-based model rather than a transactional model. I think another thing that we as an industry and from GRAPHISOFT's perspective can leverage is that there's a lot of great technology out there. The notion that any project is going to be delivered with one set of technology is a fiction. Everybody recognizes that on any given project, there is a set of analysis software, there's documentation software, there's modeling software, there's visualization software, there's project management software, there's word processing, spreadsheets, database, personnel management. There is a ton of information being used to deliver projects. And connecting that information and leveraging it in concert with each other is a key driver for how you can succeed. And BIM is one of the core components of that, because much of that information will come through or connect to your BIM, but it goes beyond that. We're lucky in that we're a part of the Nemetschek Group, and so we have the Nemetschek Group has a broad set of software outside of GRAPHISOFT. And one of the advantages that brings us as a company is that we can work together on technologies, but more importantly, share understandings of the market. A great example, so Vectorworks and Allplan are, on the one hand, my competitors, right? On the other hand, I spend time with their CEOs and their teams, and our technical teams have relationships that we can learn from each other. We can understand what's happening in the market. We can understand what are the challenges that you face that we are both trying to address, and find the areas where we can work together or learn from each other while still being competitors in other areas. And I think that's a good model for how the whole industry should work. I'm happy to talk to Autodesk or to whoever and work together on satisfying the market's needs. And I think that's the kind of behavior you should demand from all of your vendors around the world. I think the other important thing in leveraging strength and equipping for growth that you face is knowledge, knowing how to do things. It's one of the reasons you're here today. You want to learn, you probably want me to finish so you can learn from the real speakers, but you want to learn, what are people doing? How are people taking advantage of technology? What is possible? What can I emulate or learn from in my own practice? And what you should look for is learning opportunities similarly in relation to your technology. You can find a host of learning opportunities to learn how to operate the software. What you really want to look at is, how does a set of software or technology relate to how you design or build a building? So one of the things we're doing is organizing our learning not around the features and functions of the software, but around the tasks and objectives that our users have to deliver projects, around design, around coordination, around delivery and checking. And I think that's a good way to think about your own strategy for learning in your company. Don't organize it around the tools or the process or the technique. Organize it around the objective that you're seeking. And you'll realize that to really do the training, you need to learn some professional information, some technical information, one or two tools, as well as maybe a workflow. And it's a much better way to structure yourself for growth. I think the other thing to maybe recognize is that this is an industry that needs innovation and thrives on innovation. We're lucky that we have innovation in our software, but that's kind of a commercial realization of innovation. What's more interesting is looking at, where is innovation coming into this industry? And I'll share this graph. So this is a graph of the productivity growth in some big industries globally over the last 20 years. And if you look at that graph, you can probably guess which of those industries is the building and construction industry. It's the red one at the bottom. And basically, over 20 years, almost no advancement overall in productivity in our industry. And this is borne out in many, many studies, so it's not just this one study from ONS that is showing it, but I think there is a key reason for that. This is a graph of the digitization of industries. And the higher you go on the graph, the more digitized an industry is. And the further to the right you go on the graph, the more productive growth has happened in that industry. Again, no surprise, construction is all the way in the bottom left. And really what this reflects, I think this is you might ask, which is the symptom and which is the effect? I think the low productivity is an effect of not taking advantage of change, of modernization, and of digitization in the industry. There are aspects that are hard to digitize. Stirring cement and placing a brick and so forth is a physical activity. So there is limitation on it, but there are digital implications and digital techniques that can be applied as well, especially in the design and management of projects. So how does this really hurt you? there's a lot of conversation about this concept of information discontinuity in our industry. If you think about whatever kind of project delivery model you're doing, as you move through a project within your own firm, amongst all of the stakeholders on the project, or even across the life of your firm, you move through phases. And what phases they are may vary for a lot of reasons. But fundamentally, the traditional behavior of this industry is that at the end of a phase, there's a handover of information. And in the process of that handover, there's a lot of information lost, either because the person giving it feels legally risky to hand over the information, or the technologies used on both sides of the exchange are not the same, and so the data doesn't transfer well. Or there's a commercial reason where the value of the information wants to be retained by one party or the other. In any case, for all these reasons, it's a hugely common occurrence at many stages of building workflows in our industry that information doesn't pass that handover. And what that does is it lowers the value of information increasingly each time that happens in any project. And so if you think about how that applies to your work, the loss of information from early in design can have a huge impact during construction. If something isn't right, you have to jump back over a couple of discontinuities to get back to find out why it's not right and what to do about it. And you're finding out too late, and you're finding out when it's expensive and not avoiding it in the first place. So what can we as an industry do about it? Well, I think one approach is to find technologies and standards that help bridge those gaps. One that's in the industry that all of the players, all of the competitors have bought into is the concept of open BIM. Having an open, shared understanding of how to exchange that information. And this is a very useful tool. It allows information to span those gaps in a predictable way and in a reliable way. And it allows you to make choices about which technologies you use along the way based on what you're trying to achieve, not trying to avoid an information discontinuity. But there's also disadvantages to it. It is still a transaction. It is still a packaging and exchange. It's not an integration of your workflow. So one of the things that we're looking for in the future and in the near future is to think about that exchange of information in kind of a different way. For many years, if you think back all the way to CAD or even manual drafting, information was exchanged at periodic points at a project level. Here's an update of the design, Mr. Engineer. Please recalculate it. Here's the design development submission. Here's a whole project exchange, or perhaps the whole discipline. Here's the entire structural information. BIM has for years offered the ability to have that exchange take place at the element level. You have some parts of the building and are working on them, and you've kind of checked them out, or you have them in your workplace, and others are working on other parts. And you are connecting those parts and exchanging those parts dynamically. And that's pretty good, but it still makes it locked into only one person or one team or one company can be interacting with something in the building at one time. Our vision and what we're showcasing now is to allow that interaction to happen real time at a parameter level. So if you think about a wall, the structural engineer is dealing with its load conditions, its material properties. The architect is thinking about where it is, what it should be made of, what its orientation is. The interior person is thinking about its finishing. The cost estimator is thinking about its cost. The construction scheduler is thinking about when it's going to be installed. Many different people are dealing with that same wall, but nobody really is dealing with all the information about that wall. But it's the same wall. And instead of having 10 different walls in 10 different systems, let's have one wall that all the systems can interact with. And as one person makes a change, the impacts of that change become instantly impacting the rest of the team dealing with it. And we really believe that's the direction that BIM and the use of technology is advancing in this industry. I think there's a theme in there, and one of the themes is that this is a team sport. Within your office, you have a team working. Your office and the other disciplines and the rest of the stakeholders are a team. And maybe you as professionals in the same market are a team, asking things from your vendors, your standards agencies, and your professional organizations. I mentioned hockey before, so maybe I'll change the football to a hockey puck. But I think it's important. So I actually play hockey too. You can tell by my athletic figure. But I think that if you think about any team sport or any team activity, teams always beat individuals. And the integration and the sharing of information, the sharing of skills, the sharing of experience, recognizing that roles support each other and behaving in a team way is how we can all win together. And we all like winning wherever you are in the world. So with that, I'll leave you with one last thought. I think and we believe that it is the best way all of us can succeed if we help each other succeed. And I think that's what we want to do with how we work with you and how we support you. And we encourage you to bring that attitude to all of your work and to how you learn from all the sessions here today. Thanks for your time.